Through Disaster, the 17th in a series of songs and explanation by Dave Moorman. Every time Dave saw Holly's Main Street, with the big Christmas tree in the center, Holly is Colorado's Christmas city, he fairly vibrated because of the grace that he had received. When Dave and Sherry arrived, Vacation Bible School was coming up. The church built a trolley out of refrigerator boxes and a gallon of bright red paint. The kids had a blast, and the trolley was the focus of the float in the Holly Fair Parade. Sherry and Dave displayed 100 of their international nativities at the Christmas program. And they took the youth to explore the missions and ministry going on in the big city of Denver. Meanwhile, Dave was publishing issues of Lodestar on his C64. A fellow from Australia figured out how to make a PC work as a hard drive for the C64, so Dave put together and sold a couple dozen of them, each loaded with over 200 issues of Lodestar. And, thanks to his local PC guru, Dave began thinking about how he could improve the basic language of the C64. Commodore's built-in BASIC was ancient, and had always been clumsy. Using a machine language module by Lee Novak, called Mr. Mouse, and his own coding, Dave added over 100 commands to Commodore BASIC 2.0. Alan Reed, from Ohio, wrote a complete user's manual, in full color, to explain how .BASIC Plus worked. At 8 p.m. on Wednesday, March 28, 2007, a tornado roared through Holly. Dave was at a Bible study in Bristol, but got news from an emergency responder in the class. The road home was closed for emergency vehicles, so he had to wait at a convenience store in Granada for a couple of hours. The devastation was mind-numbing, and he spent some time trying to find Sherry. Finally, she called him on his cell phone. The twister cut almost straight north through town and came directly up their street. Sherry, who was home with back pain, heard the roar like a freight train. The lights went out, and she heard two loud bangs from outside. Windows were smashing inward as she felt her way to the basement stairs. By the time she was at the bottom, silence resumed. People were walking around, calling out for survivors. Early the next morning, people were out with farm trucks and front loaders, clearing away the rubbish. The path of the storm turned just south of their house, leaving it standing, but badly damaged. For his part, Dave put up a sign on the church marquee that read, "We're Holly. We're okay." A number of first responder organizations arrived, as did the TV satellite trucks. The one group that stayed was the Salvation Army, which served free meals for nearly 2 months at the senior center. April 1st was Palm Sunday, and the bishop came down to share in the worship service. As the representative of UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief, Dave served on the local recovery committee, and distributed $10,000 in aid to suffering families. The parsonage had $127,000 worth of damage, so they lived in a fifth-wheel trailer in the backyard for 6 months during repairs. People who had not spoken to each other for years sat together at the senior center and began conversations. The shared disaster brought the community together. Until the insurance checks arrived. In November of 2008, Dave and Sherry still had unopened boxes of stuff in the garage. When the district superintendent called to tell them of a church in Wyoming that was needing a pastor, they decided it was a good time to move to Sundance, Wyoming. A friend who visited the next summer exclaimed, "You finally have scenery." Thanks for listening. Be sure to click like and subscribe to hear more of Dave's life in music.